Today I'm going to be talking to you about three special populations that us as personal trainers have to take into consideration when training our clients. First off, I'm going to talk to you about hypertension, which is high blood pressure. Clients suffering from hypertension suffer from an excessively high diastolic blood pressure, which makes it harder for the heart to pump blood around to the muscles of the body that need it and to oxygenate themselves. Clients suffering from hypertension generally have a blood pressure of 140 over 90 or above, and basically this puts them at a higher risk of suffering from heart failure, aneurysms, renal failure, stroke, and other various life-threatening conditions because it puts so much pressure on the organs within the body. Before training a client that displays hypertension or tells you that they do suffer from high blood pressure, you must make sure that they have medical clearance from their GP, and you should also find out what medications that they're taking, just because some blood pressure medications have different effects whenever the client starts exercising, so you're going to need to be aware of those. During exercise, you need to make sure that the client maintains adequate breathing so that they don't get the Valsalva effect where their body has to force itself to breathe because they're struggling for breath basically. So you just need to keep everything fairly low intensity in terms of cardio. You'll need to incorporate a longer warm-up process as well as a longer cool-down process to avoid sudden drops or spikes in blood pressure. That way you're avoiding chances of the client getting too dizzy, fainting, or injuring themselves basically. When making a training plan for clients suffering from hypertension, you need to incorporate at least 3 or more days a week of longer aerobic cardio sessions, so that's your endurance sessions, say 30 to 60 minutes for each one, and the client will be working at 40 to 70% of their maximum heart rate. That way they're not going so hard that their blood pressure could spike and that they could injure themselves basically. You should also incorporate 2 to 3 lower intensity resistance training sessions as well, where you're targeting the big muscles just to get their body functioning, increasing their fitness, and therefore overall just bringing their blood pressure down. Whenever you're doing training with a client, make sure that they're not gripping things too tightly, which can cause a lot of stress and can cause their blood pressure to spike, and avoid static exercises where they're holding in one position for too long. You should also avoid clients having to stick their arms overhead like when they're doing shoulder presses, and avoid having them putting their legs up in the air as well. Just want to keep them upright, keep them moving, and just avoid basically rocking the boat too much and making their blood pressure spike. So for instance, because you're wanting to keep the client upright, and so you wouldn't have them doing push-ups or planks, and a plank is another static exercise, so it's definitely a no-no. Instead, you could do wall push-ups where the client is up against the wall, just pushing up there. They can still get the appropriate range of muscle and get all the action in the pecs, deltoid, triceps. Another one for abdominals, because you'll be avoiding sort of doing the planks and doing crunches on incline benches and whatnot. You can have them doing hanging leg raises, where they're just supporting themselves on the mat, upright, their legs are hanging down, just raising their knees to the chest, up and down as much as they can, but make sure that they're obviously breathing through each movement as well. You could also have them standing upright with the machine weights, doing cable wood chops, that way they're getting their abdominal exercises there, as well as doing your oblique dumbbell side bends. That will also help as well. In terms of doing back exercises, you're not going to want to have them bent over as well when they're doing rows and whatnot, so you can have them supported in their back and doing a seated row, just sitting down on the machine weights and still targeting all the back muscles there. So that will help you in safely training a client who's suffering from